In the golden era of Hollywood, a lavish party was in full swing at the grand Beverly Hills home of Errol Flynn, the swashbuckling hero of the silver screen. The year was 1940, and Flynn, at the height of his fame, was known as much for his off-screen escapades as for his on-screen adventures. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and the sound of clinking glasses as Hollywood's elite mingled under the starlit sky. But beneath the surface of this glittering spectacle lay a darker side to the charismatic actor. Flynn, with a drink in one hand and a mischievous glint in his eye, was the life of the party. However, his charm masked a penchant for trouble that often put him at odds with the law and the Hollywood establishment. On this particular night, as the party roared on, Flynn's behavior took a turn that would add yet another scandalous chapter to his already notorious reputation. As the story goes, Flynn, in a moment of drunken bravado, decided to play a prank on a fellow actor, a prank that would later be recounted in hushed tones among the Hollywood circles. He had smuggled a live tiger into the party, a wild and dangerous stunt that sent guests into a frenzy. The tiger, bewildered and scared, roamed the lavish halls, causing chaos and panic among the glamorous crowd. Flynn's laughter echoed through the mansion as he watched the spectacle unfold, seemingly oblivious to the danger and distress he had caused. This incident was emblematic of Flynn's approach to life, reckless, daring, and often crossing the line of decency. His actions that night were not just a display of poor judgment, they were a reflection of a deeper disregard for the consequences of his actions. Flynn's life was a series of such escapades, each more outrageous than the last, painting a picture of a man who lived by his own rules, regardless of the cost to himself or others. Flynn's behavior was often excused as the eccentricities of a genius, his charm and talent overshadowing his indiscretions, but to those who bore the brunt of his actions, he was a man whose charisma could quickly turn into callousness. His antics, though often dismissed as the follies of a Hollywood star, were indicative of a troubling pattern of behavior. As the night wore on and the party guests recovered from their initial shock, the incident with the tiger became yet another tale to be told about Errol Flynn, the charming rogue of Hollywood. But for those who looked closer, it was a stark reminder of the darker side of fame, a world where excess and arrogance were often mistaken for charm and charisma. This story of Flynn and his tiger is just one of many that illustrate the complex and often troubling nature of some of Hollywood's most iconic figures. As we delve deeper into the lives of these stars, we uncover a world where the glitz and glamour of the silver screen often mask the more troubling aspects of fame and fortune. From Flynn's wild escapades to the fiery temperament of Shelley Winters, the golden era of Hollywood was as much about the drama off-screen as it was about the stories told on it. Errol Flynn, the swashbuckling rebel. Born in Tasmania in 1909, Flynn's journey to Hollywood stardom was marked by a series of escapades that foreshadowed his future reputation. His early years were spent in Australia and Papua New Guinea, where he was known for his rebellious nature and love for adventure, traits that would later define his persona both on and off the screen. Flynn's arrival in Hollywood in the early 1930s was the beginning of a career that would make him one of the most iconic figures of the golden age of cinema. His breakthrough role in Captain Blood, 1935, catapulted him to stardom, and he quickly became synonymous with the roles of charming and daring heroes. However, it was his off-screen life that often captured the public's imagination just as much as his on-screen exploits. Flynn's Hollywood was a place of excess and extravagance, and he embraced this lifestyle wholeheartedly. He was known for his lavish parties, which were legendary for their opulence and the debauchery that often ensued. Flynn's home, Mulholland Farm, became a symbol of his extravagant lifestyle, a place where Hollywood's elite would gather to indulge in the hedonistic pleasures of the era. But Flynn's life was not just about parties and glamour. He was also known for his tumultuous personal life, including a string of high-profile romances and marriages. His relationships were often the subject of tabloid gossip, adding to his reputation as a Hollywood playboy. However, it was his trial for statutory rape in 1942 that brought his personal life into the public eye in a more serious and damaging way. Although he was acquitted, the trial tarnished his image and added a dark chapter to his story. Flynn's career in Hollywood was also marked by a constant struggle with the studios. He often clashed with studio executives over his roles and his desire for more creative control. His rebellious nature extended to his professional life, where he was not afraid to stand up to the powers that be, a trait that was both admired and frowned upon in the industry. Despite his personal and professional challenges, Flynn's talent and charisma kept him at the forefront of Hollywood. He continued to deliver memorable performances in films like The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938, and The Seahawk, 1940. However, his lifestyle began to take a toll on his health. Flynn's later years were marked by a decline in his physical and mental well-being, exacerbated by years of alcohol and substance abuse. Errol Flynn's death in 1959 at the age of 50 was a tragic end to a life that had been lived in the fast lane. His legacy, however, lives on in the annals of Hollywood history. Flynn's life was a testament to the allure and dangers of stardom, a reminder of the thin line between the glamorous facade of Hollywood and the often tumultuous reality behind it. His story is one of talent, charm, and defiance, but also of excess, controversy, and the ultimate cost of fame. Tallulah Bankhead, Hollywood's wild card. With her husky voice, flamboyant personality, and unabashed approach to life, was a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood. Born into a prominent political family in Alabama in 1902, Bankhead's journey to stardom was as unconventional as her personality. She first made her mark on the New York stage before venturing into the world of Hollywood cinema. Bankhead's arrival in Hollywood in the 1930s was met with great anticipation. Known for her successful theater career, she brought a sense of sophistication and raw talent to the screen. However, it was her off-screen antics that often overshadowed her professional achievements. Bankhead was notorious for her wild parties, her quick wit, and her propensity for shocking the conservative sensibilities of the time. One of the most telling anecdotes of Bankhead's audacious nature occurred during the filming of Lifeboat, 1944, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Known for her disdain for wearing undergarments, Bankhead reportedly refused to wear any during the shoot, much to the discomfort of her co-stars and the crew. When a complaint was made, Hitchcock famously quipped that he didn't know if the issue was a matter for the costume department, hair and makeup, or props. This incident was emblematic of Bankhead's devil-may-care attitude and her refusal to conform to Hollywood norms. Bankhead's personal life was as colorful as her public persona. She was openly bisexual at a time when such things were kept private, and her romantic escapades were the subject of much gossip. Her relationships, often with prominent figures, added to her reputation as a Hollywood maverick. Bankhead never shied away from speaking her mind, and her sharp tongue was both feared and admired in the industry. Despite her talent, Bankhead's film career never reached the heights of her stage success. She often clashed with studio executives and directors, and her unrestrained lifestyle led to reliability issues on set. Her outspoken nature and refusal to play by the rules made her a controversial figure in the industry. Bankhead's health suffered due to her excessive lifestyle, particularly her heavy smoking and drinking. These habits took a toll on her career and her well-being, leading to a decline in her health in her later years. Despite these challenges, Bankhead remained a beloved figure in the entertainment world, known for her indomitable spirit and her ability to light up a room. Marlon Brando, method acting or madness? Renowned for his groundbreaking acting and magnetic screen presence, was equally famous for his unpredictable and often difficult behavior. His approach to acting and his interactions on set left an indelible mark on Hollywood, but not always for the right reasons. Brando's method acting, which brought depth and realism to his performances, also came with a reputation for being challenging to work with. One of the most notable instances of his difficult behavior was during the filming of One-Eyed Jacks, 1961, which Brando directed and starred in. His perfectionism led to endless takes, significantly delaying the production and infuriating the crew. His insistence on exploring the psychological depths of his character often came at the expense of the production schedule and budget. Another infamous episode occurred on the set of The Godfather, 1972. Brando, known for his disdain for memorizing lines, would often improvise or require cue cards, leading to frustration among his co-stars and the film's director, Francis Ford Coppola. His unconventional methods, while resulting in an iconic performance, created tension and challenges during the filming process. Brando's behavior extended beyond the set as well. He was known for his activism and outspoken nature, which, while admirable, sometimes led to clashes with Hollywood's power structure. His famous refusal to accept the Academy Award for The Godfather in protest of Hollywood's portrayal of Native Americans was a bold statement, but it also alienated many in the industry. In Last Tango in Paris, 1972, Brando's on-set behavior was particularly controversial. The film's explicit content and Brando's approach to his role led to a significant backlash and raised ethical questions about the treatment of co-star Maria Schneider. The film remains a subject of debate, with Brando's methods being scrutinized for their impact on his young co-star. Brando's later career was marked by a reputation for being uncooperative and difficult to predict. His demands became increasingly eccentric, and his commitment to projects was often questioned. This behavior cost him roles and strained his relationships with directors and producers. Katharine Hepburn, the fierce independent. Known for her sharp wit and strong personality, was a Hollywood icon who often clashed with the industry's expectations, particularly for women. Her independent spirit, while admirable, sometimes manifested in ways that made her notoriously difficult to work with. Hepburn's refusal to conform to Hollywood standards extended to her behavior on set. She was known for her directness and unapologetic nature, which, while refreshing, often rubbed directors and co-stars the wrong way. Her insistence on having things done her way led to several high-profile conflicts. One notable incident occurred during the filming of The African Queen, a 1951. Hepburn's relationship with director John Huston was strained as their strong personalities clashed. Hepburn's insistence on her artistic vision and her uncompromising approach to her character created tension throughout the production. Her co-star, Humphrey Bogart, and Huston found her to be demanding and at times inflexible, which led to a challenging working environment. Hepburn's off-screen behavior was equally formidable. She was outspoken in her opinions and often clashed with studio executives over her roles and public image. Her refusal to partake in the traditional Hollywood publicity machine, including avoiding the press and red carpet events, was seen as rebellious and difficult. While this stance was rooted in her desire for privacy and authenticity, it was often perceived as aloofness or arrogance. Her personal life, particularly her long-term relationship with Spencer Tracy, was another area where Hepburn defied conventions. Despite Tracy being married, their relationship was an open secret in Hollywood. Hepburn's involvement with a married man was controversial, and her refusal to address or apologize for the situation added to her reputation as a Hollywood maverick. Despite these challenges, Hepburn's talent and on-screen charisma were undeniable. She delivered numerous acclaimed performances and won several Academy Awards. However, her path was not without its obstacles, largely due to her uncompromising nature and willingness to challenge the status quo. Orson Welles, genius or tyrant? Celebrated for his extraordinary talent and visionary work, was also notorious for his tyrannical behavior on set. His perfectionism and unyielding control over his projects often led to clashes with cast members, crew, and studio executives. Welles' directorial debut, Citizen Kane, 1941, is a prime example of his genius, but also of his difficult nature. His insistence on complete creative control and his unorthodox filming techniques were revolutionary but also created significant tension. Welles often disregarded studio schedules and budgets, prioritizing his artistic vision above all else. This approach, while resulting in a masterpiece, strained his relationships within the industry. His behavior on set was sometimes described as autocratic. Welles was known to demand numerous retakes until he achieved the perfect shot, a practice that exhausted and frustrated his actors and crew. His communication style was often direct and uncompromising, which, while effective in achieving his vision, was perceived as overbearing and insensitive. Welles' difficulties with Hollywood extended beyond the set. His battles with studio executives were legendary. After Citizen Kane, he faced constant interference from studios in his subsequent projects. His unwillingness to compromise often led to unfinished projects and a reputation for being unreliable. This tension with the studios hampered his career, leading to a decline in his opportunities in Hollywood. One of the most telling incidents of Wells' challenging behavior was during the production of The Magnificent Ambersons, 1942. His refusal to edit the film according to the studio's wishes led to a notorious conflict, resulting in the studio cutting and reshaping the film without his approval. This incident not only damaged his relationship with the studio, but also deeply affected Wells personally and professionally. Despite his undeniable talent, Wells' career in Hollywood was a constant battle for artistic freedom against the commercial constraints of the industry. His refusal to adhere to Hollywood norms, while admirable in its pursuit of artistic integrity, often manifested in ways that were considered arrogant and dictatorial. Shelley Winters, the fiery performer. Known for her powerful performances and Academy Award-winning roles, was equally famous for her fiery temperament and outspoken nature. Her strong personality often led to clashes with directors, co-stars, and studio executives, earning her a reputation as one of Hollywood's more challenging actors to work with. Winters' career was marked by several incidents where her forthrightness crossed into what many considered difficult behavior. One such instance occurred during the filming of A Place in the Sun, 1951. Winters, who was passionate about her role, frequently clashed with director George Stevens over her character's portrayal. Her insistence on playing the role her way led to tension on set, with Stevens finding her unyielding approach exasperating. Her off-screen behavior was equally notorious. Winters was known for her sharp tongue and lack of filter in interviews and public appearances, often speaking candidly about her personal life and her views on the industry. This openness, while refreshing to some, was seen as brash and unbecoming by others in the more conservative Hollywood circles. Winters' relationships with her co-stars were also a source of contention. She was known to be demanding and sometimes overbearing, expecting a level of commitment and intensity from her colleagues that not everyone was willing or able to give. This attitude, while stemming from her dedication to her craft, often resulted in strained working relationships. Despite these challenges, Winters' talent was undeniable. She delivered numerous memorable performances, including her roles in The Diary of Anne Frank, 1959, and A Patch of Blue, 1965. However, her difficult reputation followed her throughout her career, overshadowing her professional achievements to some extent. Shelley Winters' story in Hollywood is one of a fiercely talented actress who often let her strong personality overshadow her professional relationships. Her refusal to conform to the expectations of a female star in Hollywood was groundbreaking, but it also came with a cost. Charles Laughton, The Perfectionist's Edge. Acclaimed for his extraordinary talent and versatility, had a reputation in Hollywood that was as much about his difficult demeanor as it was about his acting prowess. His perfectionist nature often manifested in behavior that many found challenging and abrasive. Laughton's approach to his craft was meticulous and demanding, both of himself and those around him. This pursuit of perfection led to several notorious incidents on set. During the filming of Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935, Laughton, who played Captain Bligh, was known for his exacting standards and unrelenting criticism of his co-stars' performances, particularly towards co-star Clark Gable. His insistence on numerous retakes and his tendency to lecture fellow actors on their performances created a tense and often uncomfortable atmosphere on set. Another example of Laughton's difficult behavior was evident during the production of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, 1939. Laughton's method of immersing himself in the role of Quasimodo was intense and all-consuming. He demanded complete silence on set and would become irate at any disturbances, often berating crew members for the slightest noise. His temper was quick and fierce, leaving many to tread lightly around him. Laughton's directorial debut with The Night of the Hunter, 1955, further highlighted his challenging nature. His vision for the film was uncompromising, and he often clashed with the film's cinematographer and crew over the minutest details. His inability to communicate his exacting vision in a collaborative manner led to strained relationships and a fraught production process. Off the set, Lawton's personality was equally complex. He was known for his sharp wit and often cutting remarks. While he could be charming and gregarious, he could also be dismissive and scornful, particularly towards those he felt were not at his level of intellect or talent. This behavior, while partly a defense mechanism against his own insecurities, often alienated colleagues and acquaintances. Despite his undeniable talent, Lawton's career was undoubtedly affected by his reputation for being difficult. Many directors and producers were wary of working with him, not wanting to deal with the challenges he presented. His perfectionism, while yielding brilliant performances, often came at the cost of harmonious working relationships. Laurence Olivier, the demanding thespian. One of the most revered actors of his generation, known for his immense contribution to both stage and screen, had moments in his career that painted him as less than the consummate professional he was often portrayed to be. One such incident occurred during the production of Marathon Man, 1976, where Olivier's interactions with co-star Dustin Hoffman became a notable example of his difficult behavior. Hoffman, known for his method-acting approach, reportedly stayed up for days to look suitably exhausted for a torture scene. Olivier, upon learning this, famously quipped, "My dear boy, why don't you just try acting?" While often recounted as an amusing anecdote, this incident highlighted Olivier's disdain for certain modern acting techniques, which he sometimes expressed in a dismissive and condescending manner. Another instance of Olivier's challenging demeanor was during the filming of Wuthering Heights, 1939. Olivier, who played Heathcliff, was reportedly difficult and cold towards his co-star Merle Oberon, who played Kathy. His behavior was attributed to his belief that Oberon was not suited for the role, and he made no secret of his opinion, creating a tense and uncomfortable environment on set. Olivier's directorial stint in The Prince and the Showgirl, 1957, where he also starred alongside Marilyn Monroe, further showcased his demanding nature. Monroe, who was struggling with her own personal issues at the time, found Olivier's exacting standards and lack of empathy difficult to handle. Olivier was openly critical of Monroe's work ethic and acting ability, often expressing his frustration to the crew and cast. This tension was palpable throughout the production and affected the overall atmosphere on set. In his personal interactions, Olivier could also be imperious and aloof. His status as a theatrical legend sometimes translated into a superiority complex in his dealings with other actors and directors. While deeply respected for his craft, Olivier's interactions were not always marked by warmth or humility. Despite these instances, Olivier's contributions to the performing arts cannot be overstated. Marilyn Monroe, behind the glamour. Marilyn Monroe, the quintessential symbol of Hollywood glamour, faced numerous challenges behind the scenes that sometimes led to behavior perceived as unprofessional. While her struggles with mental health and addiction are well documented, there were instances on set that painted her in a difficult light. One of the most notable examples occurred during the filming of Some Like It Hot, 1959. Monroe's frequent tardiness and inability to remember lines caused significant delays. Director Billy Wilder, known for his patience, was pushed to his limits. Monroe would often require dozens of takes to get a scene right, leading to frustration among the cast and crew. Tony Curtis, her co-star, famously quipped that kissing Monroe was like kissing Hitler, a comment he later claimed was made in jest due to the stress of working with her. Another incident took place during the production of The Prince and the Showgirl, 1957, where her co-star and director Laurence Olivier became exasperated with her work ethic. Monroe's reliance on acting coaches, her lateness, and her difficulty with lines led Olivier to express his frustration openly, contributing to a tense atmosphere on set. Monroe's behavior was not limited to film sets. Her personal life was marked by volatility, including multiple marriages and affairs, some with high-profile figures. These relationships often spilled into her professional life, affecting her reputation and the way she was perceived in the industry. It's important to note, however, that Monroe's behavior was often a manifestation of deeper issues. She struggled with severe anxiety, depression, and the pressures of fame. Her upbringing and the exploitation she faced in Hollywood played significant roles in her personal struggles. The industry at the time was not equipped to deal with mental health issues effectively, often exacerbating the challenges faced by stars like Monroe. Despite these difficulties, Monroe's talent and charisma were undeniable. She delivered iconic performances and remains a beloved figure in Hollywood history. Her story is a poignant reminder of the human side of stardom and the complexities of navigating fame with personal vulnerabilities.